Artificial intelligence might be taking over the world, but is it about to take over fantasy football? Well, in today's video, I've asked the AI to go and build me the best wildcard for Game Week 6, and this is what it's come up with. Now, before we dive into today's AI team, we are trying to hit 9,000 subscribers by the next international break, and it is only possible with your guys' help. So if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Obviously, we will be using the Fantasy Football Hub AI team as well. So if you want to go and check that out for yourself or get your team rated for free completely by AI, I will leave a link in the description. They're still running their 50% off sale all the way up till September, and now could be the perfect time to go and take advantage of that. Before we dive into the team, I wanted to talk about should you actually wildcard, because a lot of people will be swayed this week with a lot of content creators hitting that wildcard button, and I think for me there are a few factors that you need to be hitting if you are going to be wildcarding this week. Number one is reacting to the big fixture swings or the fixture changes. Those are for the teams of Arsenal, Manchester City, Everton and Brentford. All these teams have absolutely amazing fixtures coming up over the next few weeks. And then obviously Liverpool start to downgrade. You've also got Fulham and Newcastle, which towards the start of the season a lot of us were heavily invested in. Their fixtures are now starting to turn. Same goes with Brighton as well. I know a lot of people have João Pedro, Dunk, Minter, Matoma. Lots of these teams are starting to twist in terms of fixtures. So number one, if you can't get to maybe, some Arsenal players or some City players, if you've not got transfers banked up, that could be a very good reason to go and wildcard this week. Same goes with building team value. Now, this for me personally is for the people that haven't had the best start to the season. They might be looking at a wildcard in 7 or 8, which are also quite popular moves. However, if you feel that you potentially by that point could be priced out of some of the players that are going up this week, obviously with price and people going down, then maybe this week you could build a pretty similar team. There's not too much discrepancy between a 7 and an 8 wildcard team compared to a Game Week 6 one. So if you, like I said, you feel like you might be priced out of some of the desired moves that you want to go for in those weeks, it could be worth hitting it this week. And then finally, it is going to be negating early season mistakes. Personally for me, my big one was of course not including Erling Haaland in my team at the start of the season. I've owned up to it. It was a mistake by me. It didn't quite work out the plan I had. So that is why I wildcarded in Game Week 5 to kind of fix my team and get it back on track for the season. So again, if you are in a position like me, you've not had the best start to the season, your team's looking a bit knackered and there's, injuries, players decreasing in value, and you've not got the ability to react to these fixture changes, then all of those factors for me should lead you to wildcard this week. Don't feel swayed just because all the other content creators are hitting that wildcard button this week. If your team's at a really strong pace and you can get to some of these teams, or you've already got decent value in the bank, don't feel like you have to wildcard because it seems like everybody else is. Play your own game, enjoy it, and let's get into this AI team. Okay, let's dive into the AI wildcard team for Game Week 6. Like I said, if you want to go and check this out, I will leave a link in the description for Fantasy Football Hub. Let's first of all start off with our goalkeeper picks. It is going to be Flecken and it is going to be Fabianski. Fabianski is probably the only 4 million goalkeeper that might see minutes this season. So far, we haven't really seen anybody kind of get any decent ones. However, Areola always seems to injure his hand at some point in the season, and I will imagine Fabianski will drop in. Now, Flecken and Brentford go on this absolutely mesmeric fixture run all the way up until around Game Week 13, I believe. And if we also look at the 11FI data as well in terms of predicted clean sheets over the next 6 game weeks as well, Brentford are fancy to do extremely well. However, something that would concern me is the fact that Brentford are currently sat bottom for XG conceded so far this season over on FOTMob, which is a little bit of a concern. So maybe one to potentially consider. However, I do think with the 11FI data and the great fixtures, he could be a fantastic pick in that 4.5 million bracket. Let's move on. Let's head into the defense. Let's first of all start off by talking about both Gabriel and Saliba. Everybody knows the next 3 Arsenal fixtures are immense. After that though, Liverpool, Newcastle and Chelsea, it is a little bit more difficult, to be honest, isn't it? So that's where things start to get a tiny bit more dicey, to be honest. So that is a little bit of a problem. However, as we saw with the 11FI data yet again, They also fancied, to do extremely well over that period, especially the next three as well, with both Leicester and Southampton at home. So that makes complete sense for me. Don't really have a problem with that. Robertson is an interesting one. Now, I did allude that Liverpool fixtures do start to tail away. You can see in game week 8, they face Chelsea, then Arsenal, Brighton and Villa. That period of 5 there could be very, very hit and miss with Champions League rotation coming in and out. However, the Fantasy Football Hub predicted points tool has Robertson still as one of the highest predicted points defenders over that time period. So maybe we might be a little bit too soon getting rid of our Liverpool assets in terms of defenders, because there doesn't seem really like anybody else that is kind of climbing up the way in terms of those predicted points as well. Moving on to our 2 bench defenders, it is going to be 2 4.1 and a 4.0 defender. It is going to be Fat and it is going to be Greaves. So I imagine most weeks you are just going to be sitting with Gabriel, Robertson and Saliba in this AI wildcard team. Let's head on into the midfield. First up is going to be Bukayo Saka. Now, I think the next 3 Arsenal fixtures are amazing. Leicester, Southampton and Bournemouth. It is a great set. Saka yet to blank so far this season. We're still waiting to hear back from Arteta around whatever player will be missing out or has kind of sustained an injury in that game against Manchester City. Obviously, Raya went off limping. Well, like post-match was like walking around parts of the changing room limping. Saka obviously went off at half-time with no real explanation. I believe it to be a tactical one. However, I'm not in Arteta's head. We don't know what happened. Maybe Saka did pick up something. If we kind of remember back, he had an injury as well towards going into that game as well in the Champions League game. So maybe that's flared itself up again. Obviously, if we look at the FPL review predicted points as well, he is one of the top for the next 2 game weeks as well. So it could be a great differential captain option for those. Next up is going to be Semenyo, and I think if I was wildcarding, I probably would be looking to include one of him or Tavernier if I was able to rotate them in 8, 9 and 10, because Southampton and Leicester is the next 2 for a side that have created really, really good XG so far this season, and him getting the most shots off as well does seem like a little bit of a recipe for success in my personal opinion. Next up is going to be Eze. Now, I think Eze is such a difficult one to kind of comment on at the moment because we can clearly see the underlying data is there. However, the opportunities just aren't going for him. And the same applies for Bruno Fernandes as well. It's such a tricky position because the underlying data is absolutely fantastic. And I think that's what the AI is looking at. The fixtures are a little bit mid. Playing Liverpool in game week 7. They've also got Tottenham in game week 9 as well. The fixtures are Nottingham Forest, even though it is a green, currently one of the best teams for XG conceded so far in the league as well. So I'm a little bit hesitant on Eze, especially if I was on a wildcard as well. I think there are better midfielder options to be going for than him. I think he could still do well, and the data that he is putting up is mesmeric. However, sometimes you get players like this where they do continually put up amazing numbers, but never kind of get the points that they deserve. And that's unfortunately what's happening with Eze and Bruno so far this season. Our final midfielder within the starting 11, it is going to be Cole Palmer. The fixtures, I know a lot of people are quite hyped about the fixtures. I think the next 3 are actually incredibly difficult. Brighton have had a fantastic start to the season. Nottingham Forest, like I said, are 3rd for XG conceded so far this year. And Liverpool are, again, one of the top teams for XG conceded, have a great record as well at home. So all those factors for the next 3, I think I'd prefer maybe downgrading an Eze and trying to get myself a Salah in here for the next 3 fixtures rather than a Cole Palmer. But let me know what you think of that one. The AI has gone for this way round. I think maybe those fixtures are being slightly overrated in my opinion. And then the final player is going to be Morgan Rogers, a fantastic enabler with great fixtures coming up. So no real problems or issues with that one from myself. And then finishing up, it is going to be our front 3. It is João Pedro, it is Chris Wood, and it is Erling Haaland. I've just noticed that the captaincy is the wrong way around as well. It is Erling Haaland who is predicted to get the most points this week on the Fantasy Football Hub model. So he will be the captain going in against Newcastle. Their XG conceded as well this week has been woeful, and he is a player that I would be considering tipping for the captaincy. And longer term, after this week, all the way probably up until game week 11, he is going to just be the easy go-to captain. Fulham, Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton. yeah, you're captaining Haaland every single week unless he's injured or, you know, there's some mass rotation rumoured. You are going to be giving him the armband every single week. Chris Wood, I think, is a good pick on a wild card. The Forest fixtures are pretty decent. We now know that he is the penalty taker for that side as well, so that again feels like a no-brainer. João Pedro is really fancied by the Fantasy Football Hub AI tool, but for me, with some of the rumours and the kind of picture circulating of crutches in the back while he's playing FIFA, all seem to me like a player that we should be avoiding. I think the fixtures are actually really difficult. Chelsea, Tottenham, Newcastle, Wolves, Liverpool, City as a next 6 fixtures. Again, if we look to the 11-5 projected goal models as well, they take a nosedive in the next few weeks. Brighton have been up there as one of the top teams. They've started to dip off in terms of that model as well. So for me, I think there are better pickups in terms of that cheap striker area. I would prefer, for me, DCL. There's great long-term fixtures in there. Again, a penalty taker, a 90-minute man. I know he's not playing for a team that are cooking at the moment, but for me, that's a better option than João Pedro, who is dealing with some sort of injury issue, and the fixtures just quite aren't there for me. Obviously, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you are hitting that like button, subscribing to the FPL Tom YouTube channel. Like I said, we are closing in on that 9,000 subscriber mark, and if we could do that before the next international break, that would be incredible. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in game week 6.